Good evening or good afternoon. My name is John Presko. It's Sunday, uh, June 13th. And this is a very important tape. Here is Rena Easton. Down here are these two pages. They're carrying the ballot box up to the hill. And the evolution of this painting is quite amazing. Because I didn't know, after I did this painting, Amanda Gorman wrote a poem, an inauguration poem, called The Hill. Some things have come together. They're profound, absolutely profound. And I'm going to decipher what the meaning of the message. I woke up this morning, I was thinking about this painting, and originally I was going to duplicate a painting that I did of Rena in 19. So this is, I couldn't remember the date that I did the painting of Rena standing on the hill, wearing a blue cape, looking at the sun. And I couldn't remember when I did that. I did it at Peters. Apparently I had a photograph of it when I went to Boston. But I went there twice, I think. And on the way to Boston, I stopped and saw Rena in Lincoln, Nebraska. She came out of her quad wearing this beautiful green cape. And she came at me like it's just an apparition, absolutely the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, her walking across the quad. I just got on there on the train a Saturday, and there's all these people in red heading for somewhere, and it turned out to be the first game of the season for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. So I started wishing that I hadn't changed my painting and gone and done what I intended to do. I still could paint these out. So I'm weighing all this. I'm thinking about what, when I did this painting, when I took the picture, because I wanted to have evidence. I'd written about my sister's, I'd written and posted, I came from a dark place. I talked about this painting. I talked about really being Christina Maya Muse. And I included our letters. And so I woke up this morning trying to figure out what I'm going to do. What kind of proof do I need? What is it? Do I have enough evidence so justice can be done in terms of my sobriety, my life story of Christina, my art and her sobriety. And it seemed to all hinge around Rena. And she's just so key. My sister saw her. When I met her, we went out to the Venice Pier late at night, and that's when she approached me and asked to walk with me. And we left for Oakland in the morning. And I could tell that Christine wasn't happy. It looked like I was going to be back in her life. And she was in love with Michael Dundon, and he was in love with her. And then I would be there, possibly move back down to Los Angeles. And all of a sudden, Rena walks out of this doorway, and she's Christina's like saying, "I know it's coming next. He's found, you know, another love of his life, another woman to worship, and who knows when I'll see him again." And it's quite sad, very difficult for sisters who deeply love their brothers, vice versa, and who bond with other males that aren't our brothers and sisters. And we have these sexual drives or the imperative, meet somebody and get married and have children. Well, you don't do this with your sister. It's a complex issue. So I read this thing yesterday about James Bond and John Wick, how they were going to try to combine these two or have them branch off. John Wick be kind of a continuation of the Bond story, which is in trouble. A lot of people are discussing how to save it, what to do, who's going to be the next stars of the Bond movies and stuff. So there's a couple articles suggesting that John Wick would be a vehicle to enhance or rejuvenate the Bond series. So I said, all right, I just did that with John Holmes John. And so that's kind of ironic that I just did that. And I've done it, of course, with the Royal Janitor based upon Rena here. She became Victoria Rosamond Bond because of her amazing ability to recall the letters that I wrote her, she wrote me. She tore up my letter, took it into the sheriff's office in Bozeman, Montana, accused me of stalking her. You won't believe what's happening today. Just won't believe it. So I can't get to it. I mean, I got to tell you in progression. So I had this idea. It's popped in my mind. I did it. I got to analyze it. That Rena's daughter, that I reborn her, and she become the lover of John Holmes John, who in theory would be my nephew. And Kathleen Easton died in 1999. So she would be 42, 20, how old was she? She was 19 in 1999. So in 21, she would be 42. And so I'd have to make John Holmes John 42. And I think that's the age of that Bond was. And they carry on with the mission to defeat the enemies of freedom and democracy and bring light and hope into the world. So I Googled Kathleen Ann Easton, the daughter of Ian Easton and Rena Victoria Easton Christensen. And there was a death certificate at the grave. They have find a grave. And I'm going, how'd that get here? It wasn't there the last time. So I noticed that in 1999, she's living on a street that's not Vesser Street, where Rena says that she was living when she wrote me that letter. And so I started doing some more investigation. And she was living on the street other than Vesser from 2003 to 2020. I believe I actually noticed that house, that it was vacant, up for sale or rent or something like that. It may be a year ago. So Rena wrote me a letter December 25th, 2013. It looks like she lied. I'm almost 99% positive that she lied to me. That she wasn't living up there on that hill overlooking the Vesser Ranch. She was on this other address that's on the death certificate of her daughter. That's where her daughter, Kathleen, was living when she died in 1999. I went back and looked at this record that had, from 1999, that had marriage licenses issued and divorces that were issued. And I thought I confused them, but I think that whoever recorded is confused, because before Rena, Irene, and Bruce Vesser, there's a D, which I believe means divorce. They were divorced in 1999. I could always be wrong. Anybody could be wrong. But it looks like when she wrote me that letter, she was on darn it. I'll write it out on my blog. I then found a congressional record about Sean Michael Miles, who was in the car with Kathleen Easton, and they both died together. And there was a senator from Montana who was neighbors and good friends of the Miles family, and he knew Sean since he was a child. So there's a very beautiful, eloquent congressional entry that and foundation for pages. And the first 2 pages who received money from this foundation after Sean, who died with Kathleen, were his 2 sisters. And I'm going, what? What? Remember the light that was shining coming out of these 2 figures? I'll post on this. The sun was coming in. These 2 beams of light were coming in. The pages on the hill. inauguration poem, the congressional recognition of Sean, who died with Kathleen, the beautiful daughter of my muse, who was married to Commodore Ian Easton, the head of the British Defense Staff. That was created by Churchill and FDR to be sure that America's bond would be forever after they won World War II. You can't make this up. So what's the key thing here? The lie that Rena told me, the lie. She was in the house, not in Bruce Vesler's house on that cattle ranch. She was in another house in town. And she told me that she's up on this hill. And they're raising cattle together. That's a lie. Her daughter might have lived up there. Well, yeah. But now she was living in this other house in town when she died. And who was driving the car? Whose car was it? When it apparently hit some icy patch on a road. Did Sean pick up Kathleen at this house and meet Rena? Does Rena know that there's this congressional recognition of the young man her daughter died with? I'm a little bit miffed that Kathleen's not mentioned. And I'm wondering why. But what I'm wondering is if the spirits of these two people have come to me. Because in my letter, I started this painting back in 2013. And Rena's spirit came to me. There was a spirit. I talked with Marilyn. I'll get her, my first girlfriend, I'll get her testimony. And the spirit of this young woman. And I'll have to tell you, I wondered when because I'd found a news article saying that she lost her daughter. And I was wondering if it was her. I told Mary, I said, I'm getting a visitation from the spirit. And I'm wondering if it's Rena's daughter. I mean, when I walked to the store, she's walking beside me. A friend that came over felt something. And now I'm reading about Sean being up on this buffalo jump where the Indians used to drive buffaloes off a cliff. And he's going, and there's what he felt was written down as part of the congressional record. He felt this great pain and love for this country he was born into, Bozeman, Montana. And he was very much into conservation, and the senator that got this bill passed to recognize Sean said they want this money to go to people interested in conservation. Rena lied to me when I first met her. She says she was 18. And I found out she was lying when she was talking about her scholarship to the University of Nebraska she got. She said, I got A plus, A plus, A plus for years. Brightest, smartest kid in school. So they skipped a grade. And then they gave me the scholarship. And we're at the campfire up in our mountain, you know. And all of a sudden I go, Rena, you're 17, aren't you? And it's like, yeah. Because she knew I figured it out. They skipped 2 grades, so you graduated it. You're ahead of everybody. Caught me. And I shouldn't be laughing because this is the tragedy of what a lie can do, and what a lie is doing to our nation. This painting here is about the great lie. That election was stolen from Donald Trump, who launched these crazy people onto the Capitol because they believed that the President of the United States was telling them the truth, that the elections had been stolen from them by scoundrels, by liars. And when you read the dedication to Shawn Miles, the accolades about what a bright star he was, what a truthful man he was, young man he was, what a hope he was to the future. What would he think? So they set this special congressional proclamation to have him have the spirit of who he was continue into the future and change the world the way he envisioned it, the way it would be if he had not died. Are you kidding me? I get chills. Right now, we're in the spirit of America here. And I've been saying it about Rena that she's the spirit of America and the spirit of Britain, Britannia. There's this whole incredible story and cosmology that I've been writing about her in my blog and my Bond stories. I've got 2 Bond books. A spy searches for the truth through the lies. It's called espionage. World leaders lie their ass off because that's what they do. They're good at it. They're covering up something. They don't want their enemies to know, but then they want to give the public an idea or clue or hint that they're doing their job. So they lie. And so the job of a spy is to get on the other side of the lie and get close to the people that are making up the lie because they're telling the truth. They're talking to each other and they're saying, you know what, let's invent a lie here. So how are we going to do that? Well, that's a, sort of a truth exchange there. They're being truthful to one another. They're conspiring to lie. Kathleen and Sean are dead. They've been dead since 1999. Whatever effect on the future they could have made, they can't make anymore because they're dead. But that's wrong. Because 3 hours ago, I found out that a congressman says, no, Sean is not completely dead. His spirit will live on because I'm going to pass this bill, Mr. President. I hope the Congress approves so we can have Sean's work continue. He was a writer and an artist and musician. Like me. So my muse, who is the model for Victoria Rosamond Bond, lied. And when she sent me this letter on Christmas Eve, she wrote on Christmas Eve. She was probably alone on that house, not on that hill with the cattle, within the cattle, but in a house in town. Her daughter's dead, been dead for 14 years. She's got a son, James. Where's James? James is probably off to college. Rita's alone in that house. And she's making up a story. She's doing a little creative writing here. And then in my response to her letter and her lies, God, I can't believe this. I mean, I'm a Nazarite after Samson. Delilah, the whole thing about Delilah and these riddles, and figuring out Delilah doing all these tricky things to Samson so she could get the riddle out of him and then turn him into her Philistine relatives who, cut his hair off, poke his eye out, and tie him to a yoke like a beast, like a donkey. And he ends up killing the Philistines with the jaw of an ass, see, because they treated him like a donkey. It's all this. I mean, this is a biblical video I'm making here. It's epic. This is an epic story. And because Rena has had a lot to hide most of her life because of the terrible abuse that came from her father. And she says it was physical abuse that did permanent psychological damage to her. And he was an alcoholic. And you have to ask, was there incest going on? And the key thing is when I found the death certificate for Kathleen before I had contacted Rita, it says she's survived by, the father is mentioned, but her mother is not mentioned. In fact, she wouldn't talk about her mother. When we were camping, we were together for 50 days. So this tells me that she has a real problem with her mother, and that could be because the mother knew what was going on. And did nothing to stop the abuse. And therefore, Rena hates her. Mothers are supposed to be the vehicles, the personification of truth and love and beauty, to protect her child no matter what. And that didn't happen. That's a horrible realization of truth for a child to own. Horrible. That she was taken away from her mother and her father and put in the care of her grandmother. Horrible. Absolutely horrible. Her whole root and core being was shattered, ripped away. Now she's got to go out in the world and be a normal human being. She's going to school with apparently normal children who have both parents in the house, are able to talk to each other. My mother may be a devil egg sandwich and some chocolate milk. And Rita can't say anything. Did they ask her, what did your mother make you, Rita, for lunch? Did she tell the truth? Or did she lie? How many lies this poor child had to tell in her life? Until she has them. Don't be judged, be condemned as being abnormal, not one of them, not one of us. So I talked about my lecture. I said I attempted to get in my truck, come to Bozeman. I take you to this house I designed. To me, it was, I'm just sharing my fantasy, letting her know that I still love her, care for her, I'll never forget her. That, I have entertained these fantasies ever since I last saw her. I've done 2 paintings, 3. But that's not what she's reading. She says, oh my God. He might come to Vassar Road, and drive up there. Somehow he's found me because he seems to be a smart guy. He knocks on the door with a bouquet of flowers. Hi, is Rita here? No? Or the guy goes, what are you talking about? We haven't lived together for 5, 6 years. She told you she's living with me? Come on, Sarah, God, that woman, she's never tells the truth. She's always telling a lie. I can never get the truth out of her. She changes the story. Here, have some whiskey. And then he's spilled the beans. Right? She was impossible to live with. She'd clam up, wouldn't speak to you for months. Recluse, that woman who had no friends. Surprised that she got married to that Commodore. Surprised that she had 2 children. How the heck did she manage that? I could give that guy a medal. This is high drama. It's absolutely pathetic beyond belief. It's sad. Rita says in the letter, I said, you'd be proud of me. I finally got some friends. Oh, really? She said, oh, you have to have all these years. Well, how many years have gone by? She's finally made some friends at the church. I found the church is next door to this house. They're not friends. They're elaborate acquaintances. They go to the same church. She alludes to being close to her boss, who hires her as a janitor. That's not a friend. That's your boss. So I thought we were friends. Saved her. She lost her lover, called these Muslim and fags, and they chased him. They beat him up and put him in the hospital. I'm down at the Venice Beach walking with Christine and Michael, and she comes out of a dark doorway and says, "Can I walk with you?" She was in trouble. She was abandoned. She was about ready to spend, a night sleeping in a doorway, 1,500 miles away from home, from her grandmother. She's worried about her. Yeah, she's worried about her. We get caught, see. We get caught in our lives. There's supposed to be consequences. But all of a sudden, the Republican Party says, nope, not going to be consequences this time. Nope, we're not going to go after the big liar in chief. Nope, we're not going to do that. We're going to have a recount in Arizona because we're going to give some credibility to our party and to our president. Yeah, we know he told 1,600 lies. So what? Doesn't matter. We're trying to, do something for America. Trying to give them Jesus. So we can lie. People don't have Jesus. Well, they can't lie. They can't accuse us of being a liar. You read that poem? The Hill by Amanda? Because I'm going to put Amanda right over here. I made up my mind 2 weeks ago. She's going to be standing here in the profile reading her poem. Because this beautiful woman has memorized 1,000,000 poems. She loves poetry. On her daughter's grave is the poem, A Red, Red Rose. See, the truth is supposed to be eternal. They say God is the truth. And God is eternal. So if the people that say they're doing the work of God saying truth don't matter, they're saying God doesn't matter. And lies will suffice. Now, what does Sean say? You get the Ouija board out, consult Sean Michael Miles about this new line. is permitted now in Congress, presidency. What is that beautiful young man who died next to this beautiful woman's daughter? What does he have to say about the hill, about his sisters being pages? That's where we are today. God, beauty, art, justice, truth. It's all we got. The enemy's at the door. If we throw those things away, we're dead. It doesn't matter. Why fight? Why fight him? What are we going to fight him with? It's the Voice of Poverty show. You be careful out there, you hear?